Harvard Commencement. You're looking at the Tercentenary Theater, the area that is sometimes called Harvard Yard, but for this occasion it is renamed after the 300th anniversary of Harvard that was celebrated here in 1936. So we call it Tercentenary Theater. It's the only place that is large enough to hold this great gala gathering. Dan Schrag and I are here today.
Diana Eck, my colleague from Religion. Wonderful, welcome.
Wonderful.
And those of you who can't join us here in the Tercentenary Theater, you can join us here on television. We're going to, as we enjoy the entire procession of the students, the faculty, and then ultimately the entire commencement ceremony.
This is the only place that holds 32,000 people. And what you are seeing here also can be seen on some of the big jumbotrons that are set around the Tercentenary Theater. But it is a huge gathering. And the only time that something like Harvard University gathers together.
Yeah, it's another beautiful day. We seem to, no matter what the spring weather was, and it was incredibly cold, wintry spring so far in Cambridge, but the sun has come out, and it's almost a sweltering day. But the undergraduates and the graduate students who are graduating today barely seem to notice. It's just full of excitement and ready for the ceremony, the celebration, to mark all of their hard work over the last several years.
And there you see the procession that the processional path that is formed by the undergraduates, those in the black robes today. They are forming a path through which the president's procession will come. And that is the first procession that will come through, that will enter the stage in order of its rank, with the president herself leading that president's division.
One of the great things about the Harvard ceremony is this procession through the undergraduates. And I can say, here we see, there's Drew Faust and Alan Garber, the provost, right behind her. They are beginning the procession through the ranks of undergraduates. And as a faculty member, it's really one of the great joys being able to walk through the ranks of undergraduates and see all of the students who have been in your class as they're getting ready to march.
And she's clapping for all of them as well. It's wonderful. Followed by Provost Garber, followed then by the members of the corporation.
You can see Susan Graham right behind Alan Garber. Susan is a very distinguished computer scientist at Berkeley and a member of the corporation.
And following the members of the corporation will be the Reverend and Honorable Board of Overseers, an elected board that has responsibilities for the college and the university.
There you see the members of the Board of Overseers wearing tall hats. The man in the center with the gray beard, that's Chris Field, a professor at Stanford and former great climate scientist, former head of Working Group 1 of the IPCC. And now here come the faculty deans, the deans of the different schools, followed by the faculty as a whole.
The faculty are supposed to line up in order of seniority, but you can imagine they certainly don't. It's not exactly even a procession when we get to the faculty. It's more kind of a straggle as they move through the ranks of students. But it is a joyous day for both faculty and students.
And what we're seeing here, there's Steven Spielberg, one of the honorary degree recipients, and there's Martin Rees, Lord Rees, who's another honorary degree recipient. So the honorary degree recipients march in first, and then the deans come after that.
And each of the honorary degree recipients is escorted by a member of the faculty. And probably of those who are coming today, Steven Spielberg will be the most readily recognizable. The one that, well, as my daughter just texted me, can you get an autograph? Well, probably not on a day like today.
But at the same time, each of our honorary degree recipients are incredibly distinguished and deserving of the honor that is being bestowed upon them today. There you see pictures of the various graduate students already in their seats from the various schools. Some of them bring props. The Kennedy School students have inflatable globes. I saw an inflatable toothbrush from the dental school and a variety of other celebration props to help mark this occasion.
Entering into the Tercentenary Theater is done by processions, and the graduate schools all line up in the Seaver quadrangle behind Seaver Hall, and they come in in more or less orderly fashion and take their seats. The alumni divisions also come in, the 50th reunion, the 25th reunion, the older alumni classes, and some of the younger alumni classes as well. They will all be seated before very long, but the graduate divisions are still really in the process of taking their seats.
And one of the things you could see in some of these pictures is just surrounding the undergraduates are the throngs of very proud parents. And as much as this is a celebration for the graduating students, this is also a celebration for the parents who have supported all of these students for so long. And this is really a wonderful day of triumph for them as well.
And this is what we would call an academic festival. And it truly is. There were days, of course, when there were elephants and other entertainments part of the academic festival, but now simply the convergence of so many graduates from years past and the excitement of the graduates today. There they are lined up in front of the John Harvard statue by University Hall. And as an academic festival, this is the oldest non-religious ritual in the United States, and really an extraordinary day.
And you know, they call this commencement, Diana, and it really is commencement. This is not the end, this is really the beginning. And I think that's one of the things that makes this ceremony so exciting. If you look around the Tercentenary Theater, you see so much potential. These students have amazing capabilities and are going to go out in the world and do so many amazing things. And that's really the sense of potential and excitement that's happening right now.
We have a couple of people that we want to talk to today as everyone gathers, and among them is a member of the 50th reunion class that has come back. And many people will recognize him from his role on National Public Radio for many years. But we'll have him seated in a moment and get some of his reflections, because the commencement also is an opportunity for the ingathering of graduates from many classes. So it has a temporal dimension that is extremely important. Sandy, good morning. Is Sandy's mic on? We have with us Sanford Unger, who is a member of the 50th reunion class. Say a word about what it means to come back as a member of the class of '66.
I'm more convinced than ever how wise Harvard was in choosing us.
So
they did a very good job of selecting us.
Yeah.
It's been a wonderful week, an emotionally charged, exciting week. I have found an extraordinary degree of warmth and tolerance and interest in each other. It's like no other peer group I've ever been a part of.
And so what surprised you most about what surprised you most about your class? What surprised you most?
What surprised me most? Well, that's a good question. Well, one of the things that pleases me most is how many people are resisting using the term retiring and retirement, because I don't regard myself as retired.
72 is the new 52.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think I'm surprised that some people didn't come back. I mean, I can't imagine any reason for not coming back to this magnificent place and participating in these events. So I'm sorry about that some people are missing out on the time of one's life.
Sandy, say a word about the fact that you've been teaching a freshman seminar for the last couple of years.
Yes, and I will be back this fall to teach my freshman seminar on free speech. It has only grown in significance and importance it'll be my third year this fall teaching it. What makes it possible is that I stay in Lowell House, thanks to you and Dorothy, Diana, and it's a wonderful way to stay in touch with Harvard. It's a wonderful way to stay young and involved, and I feel very lucky to have managed to figure that out. The seminar is in good demand. So I have wonderful
sure
So
it
students.
talking with the undergraduates about free speech, do you have a sense of how their perspective looking forward is different from what you felt when you were a Harvard undergraduate?
Well, that's a good question. I think that we never imagined that some of the issues would come up that have. And the notion that it's a solution to anything to cut people off from talking is just anathema.
Well, you were in class of '66. This was the
Well, we always say
height
we
of the
were-
Vietnam War, and this
Well,
was
we always say we were the last class of the 50s. We were very compliant. We didn't rock the boat too much. In some ways, I wish we had rocked it a little more.
and yet the world was perched on change.
Yes,
right
it
then.
was.
And free
there-
speech played a very important role in that change.
You know, we've taken free speech for granted in this society, in this culture for so many years, and it is such a precious commodity. If we don't use it, we're going to lose it. There's no question. So it's pretty exciting to explore with a group of 12 first semester freshmen each fall now the dimensions of free speech, the threats to free speech. We don't, in my class, we don't believe in any trigger warnings or in any restrictions on what anybody can say to each other. It's a genuinely safe space in some ways.
I felt that very much. I had the honor of sitting in on his last gathering of that class and getting some of their reflections. Wow. Of course, these issues are very much roiling in American academia these days. And
true.
I think it's great that students have a chance when they come right into their freshman year,
It's very exciting.
some of them, to talk about this.
Sandy, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
My
coming to
pleasure.
join us.
Thank you for doing this.
Really
Enjoy
great.
your reunion. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Oh,
It'll be a
it's
great
Yes, absolutely.
celebration.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Take care. As the procession continues, the honorary degree recipients are taking the stage, as are the faculty. We see them amongst the masses. And we also have some students. You know, yesterday, Drew Faust gave her baccalaureate address. And in that address, she talked about the undergraduates telling their story. She said, you will tell your story. Telling your own story, a fresh story full of possibility and a new ordering of things, is the task of every generation. And what we want to give you today in this broadcast is a sense of just a sampling of some of the stories out there. Welcome, Srija.
Srija, introduce yourself, where you come from, and pronounce your full name.
My name is Srija Kalapadakel, and I'm from Brighton, Massachusetts here.
Brighton, Massachusetts.
Now,
Brighton, did
Srija-
you say? Good.
Now, Srija, I happen to know that when you were deciding whether to come to Harvard, you were choosing between coming to Harvard or going to a abbreviated 6-year combined medical bachelor's program. And it was a tough choice, but
It
you
was.
ultimately decided to come to Harvard.
Yes,
But now you decided not even to follow medicine, is that right?
that's exactly right. It was very difficult initially to make that decision, but I had a wonderful mentor by the name of Diane, who I knew was invested in my education. And one of the things that she told me about her experience at Harvard College was that there's nowhere else on earth I would be able to find the people that I would find here.
So tell us about what you did decide to concentrate in.
I am concentrating in history and science.
You did. You're done now.
I did. And with the secondary in global health and health policy.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That is wonderful. And are you going on to medical school, do you think, or is that still an open question now?
I am no longer considering medical school. I think I found my interest to be in mental health here. And while I am unsure about the graduate school, I know that I am very committed to community mental health and will be looking towards a work experience to help.
You know, the sign of a successful education. Some people think of education as going to almost as a certificate to enable you to do what you want to do. But education here at Harvard really is about opening your mind to all sorts of new possibilities. And I think it's just wonderful to see that that's happened for you.
And who is here with your family today?
My mother, my father, and my 2 sisters.
Wonderful. 2 sisters younger?
They're both younger than me.
So they all must be very, very proud of you.
they're very happy to be here.
It's a great celebration. Congratulations, Rasheeda.
Thank
and we
you.
hope you really enjoy the day. You better rush back to get back to your class.
I
Wonderful.
will.
You're in Elliott House?
I am. Shout out
Wonderful.
to Elliott House.
Wonderful. Great.
Okay.
Wonderful to see you. Come back.
Take care, Rasheeda.
Okay.
Congratulations. You know, Diana, it's wonderful to see undergraduates with so many different ideas and see how Harvard has affected them and changed their perspectives on the world. It's really an incredible melting pot of different backgrounds and different possibilities. You know, I have to mention that in addition to the stories that we just mentioned of these two, of Sandy from the 50th class and Rasheeda from the current class of 2016, we have in our amidst this theater today, we see a variety of students graduating who are actually sons and daughters of Harvard faculty.
That's very interesting. Who are they?
Well, there are a range of them, and we just have time to mention a few of them. But for example, Colleen Cavanaugh, who's a professor in organismic and evolutionary biology, she studies deep sea hydrothermal vents and the biological forms that live down there. Her son, Matthew Cavanaugh Geschwend, is graduating today, class of 2016 in environmental engineering. Richard Lazarus, who's a professor in the law school, his son, Sam Lazarus, is graduating from the Harvard Business School. And Arthur Siegel from the Harvard Kennedy School, and Patty Saris, who's the chief judge in the District Court of Boston and was the former head of the Board of Overseers. Their daughter, Celia Siegel, is graduating from the Harvard Kennedy School. And finally, Alex Sach is an undergraduate graduating in Dunster House today, and his father, Tony Sach, is a professor at the Kennedy School and runs the Ash Center and is one of the university's great experts on China. And so that's just a sampling of some of the various people who are in the crowd today, ready to celebrate.
Enormously excited students, but also the parents whom Dorothy and I greeted at Lowell House yesterday for the parents' reception. 2 hours of literally hundreds of parents and aunts and uncles and grandparents and brothers and sisters. All of them. Thank God it was a beautiful day because we were able to be back in the garden area of our residence. But it was really lovely. There is Mike Smith with his sunglasses.
You see Mike
on.
Smith has his sunglasses,
Yeah,
and just
there.
to the right, you see one of the new deans, Frank Doyle, who is the Dean of Engineering, wearing his blue and orange from Caltech. Frank Doyle, one of our newest deans, is the new Dean of the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. We have another new dean, Doug Elmendorf, the new dean of the Kennedy School, who just started in January. Doug is an economist and was the head of the Congressional Budget Office. Very distinguished economist, very thoughtful scholar of prosperity and inequality and income disparity, and is really off to a great start down at the Kennedy School. And then finally, we have Michelle Williams, who I think is not appearing today because officially she's not the dean yet. I think David Hunter, who was the academic dean, is filling in for her today. But Michelle is the new dean of the School of Public Health.
I think she is the first African-American dean of any of our schools, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. That's possible.
So the faculty have begun to seat themselves virtually right in front of us. There are some of our students waving. They are the undergraduates, the last to enter into the Tercentenary Theater and take their seats. They also will be the last to receive their degrees today. One of the things we should mention is that the degrees that are awarded here are conferred by what ritual specialists would call speech acts. They are conferred by the Speech Act of the President, by the authority of the members of the corporation. Then they receive their diploma, not here, but in their houses if they're undergraduates, or in their respective schools. And it used to be that you didn't get a diploma at all unless you ordered one and paid for it. But now diplomas are very much in demand, and people think of that as the height of the ceremony, but actually it doesn't take place here at all, except in the afternoon.
So Diane, we have one more final interview with a Harvard undergraduate graduating today.
Dennis, wonderful. It's Dennis Ojoko? Ojo. That's it.
Welcome, Dennis.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So tell us a little bit about you and how you came to Harvard.
Sure. So born and raised in Los Angeles. My parents immigrated from Nigeria, and let's see. So my first time on the East Coast was really here. I studied in government, really involved with the Crimson, and also with public service and IOP.
Tell us what you did with public service.
So with public service, I mainly worked at the IOP's citizenship tutoring program. Where
IOP, for those people who don't know, is the Institute of Politics over at Kennedy School.
Institute of Politics, and I worked with Harvard employees that were looking to get their citizenship. And so, on these tests where they ask you who George Washington is, how many senators are there, they're difficult questions even for Americans to get right.
So were you the one who wrote this article about not the citizenship test? No, it was about the
voting rights. Yes,
voting,
yes. A literacy test.
The literacy test for voting.
Yes, I did.
You say a bit about that, because
Sure.
Dennis has been a very prolific writer with the Crimson, but also this particular bit of research was fascinating.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I was involved in this project with Carl L. Miller, who is a tutor in Winthrop House, and we took a literacy test from 1964 that was used in Louisiana to disenfranchise African Americans and poor white voters. And what we thought would be a great idea would to have Harvard students take this test that was impossible to pass to really highlight how this was used as a barrier, and also to bring attention to current barriers.
How did they do?
Not a single person passed.
Not a single person
amazing.
passed.
No, not
just
a single
amazing.
person.
It is
Right.
such a
Can you imagine that? Harvard undergraduates, graduating seniors, not able to vote.
Right.
to
That's
pass
right.
the literacy
And-
test. And
Yes, so we created this video, went viral, and we brought attention also to some current barriers to voting, such as voter ID laws, and we
Yeah.
tried to tie it all together around the time of the midterm elections.
So Dennis, tell us, what are you going to do when you finish? Are you going back to LA?
Yes, I am. I'm going back to LA. I'm going to be working at Community Coalition, which is a community organization in South Los Angeles that looks to prevent gang violence, substance abuse, promote school equity.
that's wonderful. Good.
And then I'm coming back to Harvard to attend Harvard Law School.
Oh,
And
that's
that
wonderful.
will be after a year?
After
or
2 years.
After 2 years.
Yes, through the junior deferral program that they
That's
just started.
wonderful. That's wonderful. You did a lot of writing for the Crimson when you were here, and I will say that issues of race and equality at Harvard and elsewhere were really on the top of the agenda, and it was wonderful to have you here working on those.
Oh, thank you so much. When I joined the Crimson, I said, how's the best way I can use this platform? And through all the learning that I've done through my classes and through talking to my peers, I was able to put together some articles every now and then that really made an impact. And it's one of the best experiences I had at Harvard.
Well,
Dennis,
keep on writing.
keep
I
on
will.
writing and keep on trying to change things for the better.
I will.
Dennis, congratulations. We're very proud
Thank
of
you so much for
Thank you.
Have a great day today, okay? It's just absolutely
amazing.
amazing to see all these students. So much talent, so much potential.
I want to say a word about another story that we'll hear. This is the graduate oration. People ask who's speaking at Harvard Commencement, and in this morning exercises, there are 3 students speaking. That's all that is on the speaking platform. One is the Latin oration given by an undergraduate. Then there's an undergraduate English oration, and then a graduate school English oration. And the competition for these is really rather intense. But the graduate oration is going to be given by Zhang He, who is a native of China. He came from rural China, from a farming village, really, and had to walk an hour and a half to school, managed to get himself schooled and get to college, and eventually, a long biography later, he came to Harvard University and has been in cellular biology, and now is in a program with MIT. But Zhang He is just an extraordinary man, and he has been a non-resident tutor at Lowell House, and very much beloved of students. And when I imagine when he first came, his English was even a little bit tentative. And now to see him addressing 32,000 people this morning about his experience is really extraordinary.
Watching people grow and develop as they're here is just an amazing thing. Now, one of the other things that's changed this year, Diana, is your title.
Oh,
You are
yes.
no longer a master of Lowell House. You are the
I am
faculty dean.
Faculty dean
And
of
this
Lowell
really
House.
happened just before the Harvard-Yale game this
Yes.
year. And it's interesting because I was at Yale. They have been undergoing a similar reflection. And when I visited them in mid-November, they were in crisis. And
I
it was
know.
really
They had
sad
a lot
to
of
see.
issues, and the crises over Yale things, I think, did influence the pace of doing this change. at
So it's
Harvard.
interesting. A lot of people don't appreciate where the title master came from.
I know.
But they also don't understand how recent the history of this
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
The actual use of the term, of course, goes back to the Oxford and Cambridge model
Yeah.
of the masters of houses. And so it doesn't come from any
It doesn't
kind of
come
U.S.
from American slavery, but it does have some of the connotations. I
And
mean,
yet, this
words
isn't
have
a very old
lives.
tradition at Harvard, as Harvard goes. Harvard is a very old institution, more than 375 years old,
Yeah.
and yet the houses were really only formed in the 1930s.
That's right.
And so this is not a very ancient tradition. It's about an 85-year tradition.
It is true that the houses were modeled originally to create the kinds of academic communities that are part of Oxford and Cambridge. So housemasters became the term of choice. It was a little bit strange when Dorothy and I became housemasters at Lowell House because it is a gender-inflected term in a way, but it also has to do with being master of a subject or having a master's degree. We use that kind of thing. But I think it was true that words have lives, and we did, one of our number did a very thorough review of all the possibilities that could be ours, whether it would be a rector or a provost or a regent.
Well, whatever the name that
yeah.
gets used, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I've heard alumni express some concern that this is a slippery slope and what names are we going to change next.
Yeah.
To me, I think that fails to appreciate the nature of this university, and part of what a university is about is a constant struggle, a constant discussion, a constant conversation about these issues.
Exactly.
And there is always a new equilibrium reached, and there is no subject that cannot be rediscussed and redebated, and ultimately new decisions reached. And so it is really a question of this generation of faculty, of students, of administration, reaching a decision on what is comfortable in the context of the issues and concerns of the day. But with the recognition that future generations will decide how things move forward.
And nobody is all that rigid about how we have to be called faculty dean. I mean, if people come back for their reunions and we're still in their minds housemasters, that's fine. We're not going to be all that sort of insistent on the new title.
I think it's
but
really,
I think it does reflect a change.
And I think it's really about making this university as open and as welcoming to everybody, regardless of their background. And when you look out at the students today and you see the diversity out here across Harvard Yard, it's really just breathtaking.
This is actually one of the things when you look at the 50th reunion class. This was the class that came in the wake of the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act, and the third of those great Civil Rights Act, the Immigration and Nationalities Act of 1965. And that really changed American demography when we, for the first time, removed the kind of legal basis of racism in America's immigration policy. So look at what's happened to the United States. I mean, President Johnson, when he signed the bill, said he didn't really think it would change much economically or anything for the United States, but it did right an enduring wrong in American life. Well, it did that, but it also changed a lot. You look from Silicon Valley to MIT, to our hospitals, to Harvard College and Harvard University of today. This is not just a global phenomenon, but this is the transformed demographics of the United States. And, it's a very important time when you have, as we did yesterday, the baccalaureate service of the seniors. I guess it was Tuesday. And it reflects the senior class. They read from the Quran in Arabic and then in English, from Hebrew scriptures, from New Testament, from the Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit in translation, from Korean sources in Korean and translation. This is the nature of this class that comes together to observe the festival rites of baccalaureate and commencement.
Yes, it's got a lot of old traditions, and then of course some new flavors as well.
What will happen this morning as everyone finally gets assembled, there will be a moment at which the marshals, who are the people who are kind of in charge of keeping order here, will announce to the president and her division seated on the stage that everyone is seated. That will be when all the undergraduate classes have taken their seats. And then, as you look out over the seats here, literally every seat is filled. And there are 32,000 of them in this area this morning. Then, once the whole graduating classes are seated, then the program begins in a much more formal manner. And we will not be with you commenting on this or that, because there is a script for the conferring of degrees. It's called the Form for the Conferring of Degrees. It's a little bit like the Book of Common Prayer for Harvard Commencement or something. Everything is more or less written down. What the deans say, what the president says.
It's all scripted and it goes by relatively quickly, but everybody adds their little personal flair, and that's part of the fun of the ceremony. And of course, the ceremony really begins when the High Sheriff of Middlesex County calls the meeting to order. An old and traditional obligation.
There were times when, of course, both the sheriff and the governor of the state of Massachusetts were here. I do not believe the governor is here today, but William Weld is in the 50th reunion class?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think he's in the 50th
I think
reunion.
he is.
You know, there's our reunion classes are filled with wonderful people. Juliette Cayenne, who ran for governor last year, is in the 25th reunion class. Her husband, David Barron, was on the law school faculty and is now a circuit judge in the circuit court in Boston, Federal Circuit Court of Appeals. And there are many other people. Kelsey Worth is in the 25th reunion class. Her father, former Senator Timothy Worth, is in the 55th reunion class. Laura DeBonis is here with her husband, Scott Nathan. Laura is in the 25th reunion class, and Scott is a marshal. And there are just many other interesting people, each with their own special stories.
Well, and of course, if we're to talk about who is speaking at the festival rites of Harvard Commencement, among the many speakers are the Class Day speakers. And this year, the Class Day speaker for the undergraduates here in the Tercentenary Theater yesterday was Rasheeda Jones, a 1997 graduate. She actually was in the comparative study of religion, the daughter of Quincy Jones, and they made the point that she and her father are probably the only father-daughter team who have both given Class Day speeches. Then Class Day at the Kennedy School, I believe, had Madeleine Albright speaking.
That's right.
And at the law school, Sarah Jessica Parker, another person who is very much in the field of acting and drama. At the medical school, Jeffrey Flyer gave the Class Day speech because he is stepping down as
That's right. It's his last year as dean
of the medical school. Then, really, the week begins with the Phi Beta Kappa literary exercises, which took place on Tuesday, and the orator for the literary exercises was Stephen Greenblatt, and apparently, as a distinguished professor of English and Shakespeare here, extraordinary.
So we're seeing the view right now from the stage. We're watching as the undergraduates continue to file in. There are still a few more to come in, but we're getting towards the end of the procession, and then the ceremony will begin. It takes a long time to get all the students into their seats and in order.
And to get everyone out at the end. The ceremony will begin with the the sheriff again, there also will be, toward the end, the pealing of bells all over Cambridge. The bells in all the bell towers, including the bell here in the Memorial Church, but also the great 17 set of bells in the Lowell House bell tower that come from Russia, that are part of the heritage of Lowell House. They will ring out, and across Cambridge there'll be the joyous pealing of many, many bells.
That's right. Just after the sheriff of Middlesex County declares the commencement exercise is adjourned, the bells will ring for approximately 15 minutes all over Cambridge. It's really quite remarkable. The bell in Memorial Church Tower, which for years was the only bell to acknowledge the festival rites of Commencement Day, is going to be joined by the famous 17 bells from Lowell House. Really one of the most beautiful sights at Harvard, I think, the bell tower. And then, of course, by all of the other bells, the bell at the business school, the bell in Andover Hall at the Divinity School, the Harvard chime of Christ Church in Cambridge, the bell church of New Jerusalem, the First Church Congregational, St. Paul's Roman Catholic Church, St. Peter's Roman Catholic Church, and many others. And so all of these different churches and cathedrals participate in the ceremony in that way.
There is Jackie O'Neill.
Jackie O'Neill, the marshal of the university.
Marshal. She is sort of the chief officer of sort of order and
I think we're just about ready to get started.
begin.
I think all of the undergraduates are in their place, and Jackie O'Neill is about to start us off.
Looking at this huge, filled Tercentenary Theater today with its backing of University Hall, I think of Samuel Eliot Morison, who in 1936, at the 300th anniversary, said, 3 centuries ago, this place was but a clearing in the wilderness, a fingerhold for European civilization on the American shore. And it was literally a clearing in the wilderness, a yard for oxen and cows and pigsties and a few privies eventually. But to see this transformed ritual space, the center of the axis of Harvard College today, in between Widener Library and the steps of the Memorial Church. And even imagine what 350 and more years ago it was but a clearing in the wilderness.
Okay, so all of the undergraduates are in, and any moment now, the university marshal, Jackie O'Neill, will start things off, and then the sheriff of Middlesex County will call the meeting to order with his special style.
This is the very last year that Grace Scheibner, who has run Harvard Commencement for many years and done an extraordinary job, but this is her last year in this post.
And I think only those of us who have worked inside of the commencement appreciate the literally tens of thousands of different issues that Grace has had to deal with. Pulling off an event like this with all of the complicated politics and policies and procedures and all of the different people involved, all of whom need to be in the right place at the right time. It's really extraordinary and she is so talented at doing this, and we owe her just an incredible debt of gratitude for all of her work over the years.
It will be extremely difficult to replace her. If you've ever seen her office in Wadsworth House with all the diagrams of how things are supposed to go, and she's probably the only one who has all of this in her mind.
So
there's Don Feaster, who is the chief caller, and Ben Levy, who is his assistant. They have come to report that people have been seated.
We see on the left there members of the Harvard Corporation. We see some of the honorary degree recipients. And you can just see Steven Spielberg there on the left. We're looking out at the undergraduates. Leverett House. They're all waiting for the ceremony to begin.
university band and the university choir, the commencement choir, that is on the steps of University Hall, will provide much of the music for this morning.
And they're just going to play a few more last notes before we actually begin the ceremony.
Interesting, when the marshal comes and calls the meeting to order, one has to ask, what is the meeting? And this meeting is an ongoing meeting that has taken place every year for literally 300 years now.
And there we see the stage. Jackie O'Neill's on the right there.
Yeah.
And
Steven Spielberg, you can see him
sitting on
right
the corner there.
On the corner.
And of course, Drew Faust sits up in her president's chair. Looks almost like a throne.
Jacobean, they refer to it, but I'm not sure what that means by virtue of its age and heritage, and it's not very comfortable, I'm told. But in any case, that is her.
It keeps her awake during the entire ceremony. There's the medical school, new physicians about to be minted. The Graduate School of Design, young architects.
There will be, at these ceremonies, a chaplain of the day, and that will be the person from among the university chaplains who will offer a prayer at the beginning. University chaplains today consist of people who are not only from Protestant, Catholic, and Jewish traditions, but also Muslims and Hindus and even Zoroastrian, Buddhists. I've seen Lama Mikmar from the Buddhist community at the back of the president's procession. So the ceremony begins with a chaplain's voice and ends as well with a benediction. So this is still one that incorporates a great many religious traditions.
Okay,
into
Jackie
the
O'Neill's
heritage.
about to get started. There, she's raised her scepter.
Sign for the bells to ring. Men of Harvard, a fight song at the beginning.
Mr. Sheriff, pray, give us order.
As the High Sheriff of Middlesex County, I declare that the meeting will be in order.
An ancient tradition done with a wonderful flair.
One of the great duties of the sheriff.
Please rise for the national anthem and remain standing as the chaplain of the day opens the exercises with prayer.
We gather today in celebration and to give thanks. Let us pray. Creator, Spirit of life, source of boundless compassion, we thank you for this day and for the wisdom to recognize our gifts and serve you with gratitude. Bless these graduates as they pursue their dreams in unexpected ways. Provide them with the courage to move beyond fear and doubt, to find strength in their capacity to care for others and to respect the diversity of humankind. Help them to be mindful that true success is born of meaningful relationships and a community that embraces peace and justice. Through your gracious spirit, we ask that you bless them with patience as they explore new horizons. Bless them with humility in the face of success and abundance. Bless them with compassion for the poor, the sick, and the suffering. Bless them with generosity in the midst of challenges to come. Bless them with gratitude for friends, mentors, and family who have supported them through this journey. And bless us all, family, friends, faculty, mentors, and supporters, as we share in the joy of their accomplishments. Amen.
Member of the Faculty of Divinity.
Latin salutatory, Thesaurus Linguae Harvardianae, candidate for the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Anne Ames Power.
Praeses Faust, decani notissimi, professores doctissimi, hospites clarissimi, familiares diu patientes atque condiscipuli carissimi, salvete omnes. Tanto hanc diem egrediendi diu expectatam miramur, quanto hunc morem mirare oportet, opquem sedentes sub sole ardente orationem audimus in lingua iam obscura omnibus. Sed quamquam lingua orationis meae mortua est, tamen hic in theatro tercentenario illa res vix mirabilis est. Nam nos qui nunc in mundum verum aggredi parati sumus, non modo diplomata ac sedes ex sacco favarum factas auferimus, sed etiam illam carissimam atque rarissimam rerum scilicet thesaurum linguae Harvardianae. Hic non est libello sicut ille catuli, qui aridam modo pumice expolitus fuit. Immovero est quaedam tabula mentis, quae multa nomina verbaque et ioca arcana continet. Etiam si haec tabula nihil alii significat, tamen nobis est sicut testimonium saeclorum nostrorum apud hanc universitatem. Linguam Harvardianum statim discere incepimus cum primum in hunc campum ingresi sumus, dum turbes sodales cubiculi atque professores timendos atque vias tortas Cantabrigiae navigamus, perplexis quoque significationibus sententiarum singularium contendimus. Egone sera, vel in tempore Harvardianus sum. Quid grex extremus est? Similisne congregationi discentium? Sed, ut linguas alias sic etiam linguam Harvardianum optime usu dedicimus. Ita vero, nos intra tres menses declamare poteramus de virtutibus disciplinae communis, et de majestate Pinocchionis, et de istis viatoribus qui sint inter te, et numos siderios. Anno primo perfecto, tenentes thesaurus verbi studiose congestis plenos, egresi sumus. Nam bene sciebamus, solem unem flumen, et unum campum, et unum ludum esse. Quibus opposita imponere, non necesse est. Sciebamus etiam quaedam verba vim duplicem habere posse. Sedulitas quidem in lingua Harvardiana significat et cursum proprium discendi, et id quod mane diveneris in schola deest. Nos portus similiter, et urbs, et domus in festa hostiumst. praeteria multi nostrum in anno ultimo verba velut theses, vel longissimas theses, plures significationes habere dedigimus. Quamquam haec adivimus cum primum venimus, tamen solem nunc intellegimus thesin esse, et nomen, et verbum, et modum vivendi. Quatuor hos annos thesauris linguae Harvarianae credidimus, qui nos bene curaverunt. Nunc autem mundus ut dicitur verus nos vocat, cum lingua veriore ac turbare quam hac Latina hodie dicta, vel nostra lingua Harvariana. Nam verba horrida verba sicut pensio et negotium et nexus faciendus efficiut ut lingua Harvariana condemnare videatur. Clamare vis, O Jupiter, cur hebdomas temptandi cursus vitae non est. Sed, ut quibus discipulus antiquae Graeciae et Romae confirmare potest, quam vis lingua esse mortua videator, tamen lingua esse non desistit. Nam lingua vel viva, vel mortua, nos trans tempora semper conjungere potest. Itaque, cum solitas disciplinas laudemus, etiam in vulgaribus disciplinis linguae Harvarianae gaudeamus. Sine quaestionibus vel responsis scriptis nos sermonem docuit, cuius gratia praeterita transfere et praesentia explicare et futura salutare possumus. Valete.
Senior English Address. Sorry, not sorry. Candidate for the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Joshua Brian Campbell.
When I was 4 years old, I whacked my brother hard in the forearm with a red plastic wiffle ball bat, and I was really, really sorry. He is 13 years my senior, 18 at the time, so we didn't roughhouse that much, but it still surprised me that he took the hit so hard. As the pain grew, first a couple days and then a week or so, his insistence that something was wrong won out against Mama's intuition that it was just a bad bruise. None of us knew that trauma could aggravate a rare form of cancer called osteosarcoma, trauma like a fall or a swing from a 4-year-old's toy. What we all thought was just child's play had awakened a tumor in my brother's arm that was already there. The memories are faint now, but I must have thought, wow, I've really gone and done it. I'm so sorry. It's coming up on 2 decades later, and besides my brief stint at T-ball, I've given up bats for good. Also, after treatment and recovery, my brother has been cancer-free for over a decade. I learned many years ago that the cancer wasn't my fault. I'll never forget the day that Mama told me, "Joshua, what you did was a blessing in disguise," which I, with my fledgling vocabulary, misunderstood as a blessing in the skies. That somehow I had been God's little helper in making sure my big brother was okay. In a way, both turns of phrase mean the same thing. I believe I'd been at just the right place at the right time, and that everything had played out as a set of the best possible circumstances. I didn't need to feel sorry anymore. But in the time that has passed, I have learned new ways to be sorry, new ways to worry that I might be making mistakes. I disguise the truest version of myself behind apology after apology. I'm sorry for being annoying. I'm sorry for taking up too much space. I'm sorry if this speech is boring you. We all do it. Here at Harvard, where everyone seems to be a straight A, type A student, I believe our biggest struggle often becomes finding ways to feel inadequate. So unused to being among people who are, in all their differences, still so similar to ourselves, we constantly play the game of throwing ourselves into relief of one another. We assume a need to be apologetic up front to save ourselves from vulnerability. Incessantly teasing out our strengths and weaknesses, we forget that we are whole people with complexities that interact mellifluously like lines of musical counterpoint. I sing quite a bit, and in the same way that I beat myself up over singing a wrong note that destabilizes a harmony, we obsess over whether or not every fiber of our being is ringing in tune. I have a fear. I fear that I don't know how to live life authentically because I've spent so much time trying to be a perfect version of myself. I won't say that it was time wasted. That drive for perfection helped me to grow as a musician, and it also helped me to turn in something that looks like a thesis. But I will say, looking out inspired by your presence here today, that it's high time I learned to live without apology. Being authentic requires it. It means not apologizing for the imperfections, because those imperfections make up our beautiful differences. In the classroom, as a student of music and French, I spent a lot of time thinking about authenticity and difference, and about how those things make us human. I also think a lot about how to navigate my own subjectivity as an artist. I struggle with the conundrum of how to be true to myself when a big part of my life is framed by performance. I struggle more with the ways I must perform as a person of color in a too often hostile world. But I have discovered that the relationship between performing and living authentically can be a space of self-exploration. In fact, the two are not so different from me. I have begun to feel the most like myself when I'm on stage. When the lights go up, I feel the need to apologize, fly away. Why is it so hard to find this strength in everyday life? What is this force that keeps human beings, creative and adaptive beings, moving and living? Professor Alice Jardine, my advisor and my academic mom, once gave an answer to that question. Her hair curling in the heat of the Parisian summer, she said, "It's play. You lose that play and you're fried. You're done." I think that's a good warning for all of us, artists or not. When I am on stage, I am at play, but I want to be at play all the time, not just because play has served humankind well, but because it feels right. It feels like me, the me I don't have to be sorry for. We have to take ourselves less seriously and our beneficial relationship to the world around us more seriously. We have something to give this world, something that being a cookie-cutter human being can't give it. In turn, the world has many things to offer us, gifts and opportunities that we cannot accept if we're preoccupied with perfection and not with play. When we play, we learn how being vulnerable can lead to meaningful collaboration. When we play, we reach upward and outward, hands open to receive both life's pleasures and its necessary pains. I haven't done the statistical analysis on how many speeches have borrowed these words, but frankly, I don't care. Today you are you, it's truer than true. There's no one alive who is youer than you. I don't have to be sorry for my poorness, my privileges, or my prowess. I must only know that they are a part of me and that the mystic order of the skies has allowed it to be just so. I want to invite all of us to find the courage to walk in that truth. I've begun to find it in friends who are constantly pushing me out from shadows of self-doubt. I have found it even in correcting myself out loud. Sometimes when I begin to say, I'm sorry, I stop myself and announce to those around me, no, wait, I'm not sorry. Of course, I will be remorseful if I do something wrong or if I am somehow hurtful to others, but from now on, I will stop apologizing for me, and I won't stop playing, whether that play is musical expression or tinkering with things I don't understand or finding more of the places I have room to grow. I will play with the ferocity and abandon of my 4-year-old self, and I will laugh at myself as the world watches or doesn't watch. Because play is essential. Because life could turn out far worse if you hold on to the red bat and never take the swing.
Graduate English Address, The Spider's Bite. Candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Zhang He.
When I was in middle school, a poisonous spider bit my right hand. I ran to my mom for help, but instead of taking me to a doctor, my mom set my hand on fire. After wrapping my hand with several layers of cotton, then soaking it in wine, she put a chopstick into my mouth and ignited the cotton. Heat quickly penetrated the cotton and began to roast my hand. The searing pain made me want to scream, but the chopstick prevented it. All I could do was watch my hand burn. 1 minute, then 2 minutes, until my mom put out the fire. You see, the part of China I grew up in was a rural village, and at that time, pre-industrial. When I was born, my village had no cars, no telephones, no electricity, not even running water. And we certainly didn't have access to modern medical resources. There was no doctor my mom could bring me to see about the spider bite. For those who study biology, you may have grasped the science behind my mom's cure. Heat deactivates proteins, and a spider's venom is simply a form of protein. It's cool how that folk remedy actually incorporates basic biochemistry, isn't it? But I'm a PhD student in biochemistry at Harvard. I now know that better, less painful, and less risky treatments existed. So I can't help but ask myself why I didn't receive one at the time. 15 years have passed since that incident. I'm happy to report that my hand is fine. But this question lingers, and I continue to be troubled by the unequal distribution of scientific knowledge throughout the world. We have learned to edit the human genome and unlock many secrets of how cancer progresses. We can manipulate neuronal activity literally with the switch of a light. Each year brings more advances in biomedical research, exciting, transformative accomplishments. Yet, despite the knowledge we have amassed, we haven't been so successful in deploying it to where it's needed most. According to the World Bank, 12% of the world population lives on less than $2 a day. Malnutrition kills more than 3 million children annually. 300 million people are afflicted by malaria globally. All over the world, we constantly see these problems of poverty, illness, and lack of resources impeding the flow of scientific information. Life-saving knowledge we take for granted in our modern world is often unavailable in these underdeveloped regions. And so, in far too many places, people are still essentially trying to cure a spider bite with fire. While studying at Harvard, I saw how scientific knowledge can help others in simple yet profound ways. The bird flu pandemic in the 2000s looked to my village like a spell cast by demons. Our folk medicine didn't even have half measures to offer. What's more, farmers didn't know the difference between common cold and flu. They didn't understand that the flu was much more lethal than common cold. Most were also unaware that the virus could transmit across different animal species. So when I realized that simple hygiene practices like separating different animal species could help contain the spread of disease, and that I could help make this knowledge available to my village, that was my first aha moment as a budding scientist. But it was more than that. It was also a vital inflection point of my own ethical development, my own self-understanding as a member of the global community. Harvard dares us to dream big, to aspire to change the world. Here on this commencement day, we are probably thinking of the grand destinations and big adventures that await us. As for me, I'm also thinking of the farmers in my village. My experience here reminds me how important it is for researchers to communicate our knowledge to those who need it. Because by using the science we already have, we could probably bring my village and thousands like it into the world you and I take for granted every day. And that's an impact every one of us can make. But the question is, will we make the effort or not? More than ever before, our society emphasizes science and innovation, but an equally important emphasis should be on distributing the knowledge we have to those who need it. Changing the world doesn't mean everyone has to find the next big thing. It can be as simple as becoming better communicators and finding more creative ways to pass on the knowledge we have to people like my mom and the farmers in the local community. Our society also needs to recognize that the equal distribution of knowledge is a pivotal step of human development, and will work to bring this into reality. And if we do that, then perhaps a teenager in rural China who is bitten by a poisonous spider will no longer have to burn his hand, but will know to seek a doctor instead. Thank you. 谢谢.
Tis a gift to come down. These addresses by selected candidates for ordinary degrees being ended, the deans of the several departments will now present to the president and fellows and to the Board of Overseers, in the favoring presence of the friends here assembled, the candidates on whom the various academic distinctions are, with due ceremony, to be conferred. The Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences.
Madam President, Fellows of Harvard College. Madam President, members of the Board of Overseers. In the name of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences and by its authority, I have the honor to report on 4 groups of candidates who will be presented to you today. First, the Dean of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences will present candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Philosophy, and then the degrees of Master of Arts and of Science. Next, the Dean of the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences will present candidates for the degrees of Master of Science and of Engineering. Third, the Dean of Continuing Education and University Extension will present candidates for the degrees of Associate in Arts, Bachelor of Liberal Arts, and Master of Liberal Arts and Extension Studies. Finally, near the close of these exercises, the seniors in Harvard College who are candidates for the first degree in arts or in science will stand proudly before you. The candidates in each of these groups have, by the vote of the faculty, fulfilled the requirements for the degrees for which they are severally recommended. I salute all these women and men, trusting that they will forever wisely enjoy the freedoms that their education has given to them, while bearing the responsibilities that their learning demands of them. Each of these groups will now be introduced to you by the deans responsible for the programs in which they have been enrolled.
Candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy will rise. The Dean of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences.
Madam President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, members of Board of Overseers. As Dean of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, hearing no cheering, thank you. But I think you can do better than that. Let's try again. As the Dean of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, now I have the full confidence to let you go, knowing you know how to raise your voice and to survive the real world. And I want to thank Ms. Campbell for giving me the courage for going outside the script without feeling to apologize to our president. As Dean of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, I have the honor to present to you these scholars, all of whom have devoted themselves to the rigorous pursuit of advanced study, have attained high distinction, and have made original contribution to knowledge in their several fields of scholarship.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, and recognizing your high academic achievements, I confer on you, women and men of learning, the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, and I welcome you to the ancient and universal company of scholars, and entrust to you, wait, here comes the responsibility part, you can't leave that out, and entrust to you the free inquiry of future generations. Congratulations.
You may be seated. Candidates from the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences for the degrees of Master of Arts and Master of Science will rise. The Dean of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences.
Madam President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, members of Board Overseers. As Dean of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, thank you. You're a fast learner. I have the honor to present to you, make sure, not get too nervous. I have the honor to present to you these candidates, all of whom have completed commendable steps of advanced study in their respective disciplines.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree of Master of Arts or Master of Science and certify that you have surmounted with distinction the first stage of graduate study. Congratulations.
Candidates from the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences for the degrees of Master of Science and Master of Engineering will rise. The Dean of the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences.
Madam President, Harvard College Fellows, Madam President, and members of the Board of Overseers. As Dean of the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, I have the great honor to present to you today these women and men who have completed the first step of advanced study in engineering and applied sciences.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree of Master of Science or Master of Engineering and certify that you have surmounted with distinction the first stage of graduate study. Congratulations.
Candidates for the degrees of Associate in Arts, Bachelor of Liberal Arts, and Master of Liberal Arts in Extension Studies will rise. The Dean of Continuing Education and University Extension.
Like it, we didn't even need to do the intro. Madam President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, members of the Board of Overseers. As Dean of the Division of Continuing Ed and University Extension, it is my honor to present to you these students, candidates for the degrees of Associates in Arts, Bachelors of Liberal Arts, and Masters of Liberal Arts in Extension Studies.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree of Associate in Arts, Bachelor of Liberal Arts, or Master of Liberal Arts in Extension Studies. And admit
noise now.
No. Admit you to the fellowship. I still have to admit you to the fellowship of educated men and women. Consider it done. Congratulations.
with deep appreciation for his 9 years of service as Dean of Harvard Medical School, I recognize the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine.
Madam President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, members of the Board of Overseers. In the name of the Faculty of Medicine and by its authority, I have the honor to report today that 2 groups of candidates in the fields of medicine and dental medicine have fulfilled the requirements of the faculty for the degrees for which they are recommended. They will be introduced to you by the deans responsible for the programs in which they are enrolled.
Candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Dental Medicine, Doctor of Medical Sciences, and Master of Medical Sciences will rise. The Dean of the School of Dental Medicine, stay risen. Sometimes an order bears repetition. The candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Dental Medicine, Doctor of Medical Sciences, and Master of Medical Sciences will rise.
Madam President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, members of the Board of Overseers. As Dean of the School of Dental Medicine, I have the honor to present to you these women and men, each of whom has devoted 4 years to the study of dental medicine or 3 years to postdoctoral studies aimed at improving health and the quality of life.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree of Doctor of Dental Medicine, Doctor of Medical Sciences, or Master of Medical Sciences, and declare that you are qualified for practice and research in a demanding branch of medicine. Congratulations.
Candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Medicine and Master of Medical Science will rise. The Dean for Medical Education.
Madam President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, members of the Board of Overseers. As Dean for Medical Education, I have the honor to present to you these women and men who have dedicated themselves to the relief of human suffering and prepared themselves well for a life of learning and service in medicine.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree They can't wait. The degree of Doctor of Medicine or Master of Medical Science, and declare that as physicians you are ready to engage in an honorable and merciful calling. Congratulations.
Candidates for the degree of Master of Theological Studies, Master of Divinity, Master of Theology, and Doctor of Theology will rise. The Dean of the Faculty of Divinity.
Madam President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, members of the Board of Overseers, as Dean of the huge Faculty of Divinity, I have the honor to present to you these women and men, each of whom has devoted 2, 3, or more years of theological and religious studies in preparation for careers as leaders in scholarship and vocations of service.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree of Master of Theological Studies, Master of Divinity, Master of Theology, or Doctor of Theology, and declare that you are well prepared to foster the health and vitality of communities of faith, to further scholarship in religious studies, and to help in shaping the shared values of the broader society. Congratulations.
Candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Law, Master of Laws, and Doctor of Juridical Science will rise. The Dean of the Faculty of Law.
Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, members of the Board of Overseers, as Dean of the Faculty of Law, I have the honor to present to you these women and men, each of whom has completed a degree in legal studies towards the end of advancing justice and promoting the rule of law.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree of Doctor of Law, Master of Laws, or Doctor of Juridical Science, and declare that you are ready to aid in the shaping and application of those wise restraints that make us free. Congratulations.
Candidates for the degrees of Master in Business Administration and Doctor of Business Administration will rise. The Dean of the Faculty of Business Administration.
Madam President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, members of the Board of Overseers, as Dean of the Faculty of Business Administration, it is my great honor to present to you these outstanding women and men who have mastered the study of business administration and prepared themselves to become leaders who will make a difference in the world.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree of Master in Business Administration or Doctor of Business Administration, and testify that you are ready to lead people and organizations in enterprises that will serve society. Congratulations.
Candidates for the several degrees in architecture, landscape architecture, urban planning and design will rise. Let me repeat that. Will rise. The Dean of the Faculty of Design.
Madam President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, and members of the Board of Overseers, as the Dean of the Faculty of Design, I have the honor to present to you these creative women and men, each of whom has qualified for a master's degree in architecture, landscape architecture, urban design, urban planning, or design studies, or for the degree of Doctor of Design.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on each of you the degree for which you have qualified and declare your competence to lead in shaping the spaces in which we live. Congratulations.
Candidates for the several degrees in public health will rise. With gratitude, for his service this past academic year, I recognize the Acting Dean of the Faculty of Public Health.
Madam President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, and members of the Board of Overseers. As the Dean of the Faculty of Public Health, it is my honor to present to you these women and men, each of whom has qualified for a master's degree or doctor's degree to provide leadership, advance knowledge, and improve the public's health.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degrees in public health for which your studies have qualified you, and declare that you are well prepared to generate and utilize knowledge to improve health throughout the world. Congratulations.
Candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Education, Doctor of Education Leadership, candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Education Leadership, and Master of Education Leadership have risen. The Dean of the Faculty of Education.
Madam President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, and members of the Board of Overseers. As Dean of the Faculty of Education, I have the honor. Okay. Okay. I'm going to forget my lines. I have the honor to present to you these women and men who will be leaders in education, policy, practice, and research.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on each of you the master's or doctor's degree in education and declare that you are well prepared to guide and serve the learning needs of contemporary society. Congratulations.
Candidates for the degrees of Master in Public Administration, Master of Publication, Master of Public Administration in International Development, and Master of Public Policy have risen. The Dean, the Dean of the Faculty of Government.
Madam President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, members of the Board of Overseers. I have the honor to present to you these women and men, each of whom has qualified to provide leadership in public service.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree for which your studies have qualified you and testify that you are well prepared to offer leadership in the quest for enlightened public policy and effective public service throughout the world. Congratulations.
Candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts or of Science will rise. Their chosen representatives, together with candidates for those degrees, summa cum laude, will draw near. The Dean of Harvard College.
All right. Madam President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, and members of the Board of Overseers, as Dean of Harvard College, I have the honor to present to you these students, each of whom has fulfilled the faculty's requirements for the first degree in arts or in science. Each candidate stands ready to advance knowledge, to promote understanding, and to serve society.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the first degree in arts or in science and admit you to the fellowship of educated women and men. Congratulations.
In what ways can a thing be good? What does it mean to have a right? What is the nature of human acts? What do we, as moral beings, owe to other people? These are just some of the basic, profound questions that have engaged the incisive mind of our first honored guest, one of the leading moral philosophers of her generation. She is recognized for her wide-ranging contributions in ethics, metaphysics, and beyond. A proponent of moral objectivity, she is renowned for her ingenious thought experiments and is one of the most prominent scholars of the famous trolley problem. She has produced seminal works on self-defense and on a woman's right to control her own body. As one colleague said, she teaches us to be problem solvers rather than deep thinkers, to be impatient with pontification, inflated theory, unnecessary apparatus, and fuzzy formulations. She takes on big problems, but her approach to them is straightforward and down to earth. She has been called the atomic icebreaker for women in philosophy. past president of the Eastern Division of the American Philosophical Association. She was honored with the association's prestigious Quinn Prize for her lifetime contributions to philosophy. It is a privilege to welcome a distinguished colleague and neighbor from what is universally regarded as the greatest institution of higher learning in Cambridge, east of Central Square. We honor MIT's Judith Jarvis Thompson.
Eminent moral theorist and metaphysician who ponders with acuity what it means to be good, exemplar of reason and scholarly values, who models with ingenuity what it is to be good. Judith Jarvis Thompson, Doctor of Laws.
"60 years since he received his first Harvard doctorate, we are proud to bestow an honorary second degree on one of America's great historians. He is known, above all, for monumental works of scholarship that explore the rise of slavery and its fall. Serving in the U.S. Army at the end of World War II, he witnessed deeply unsettling acts of discrimination and cruelty that set him on a lifelong quest to understand the nature and origins of slavery and its powerful impact on the development of the United States and the Atlantic world. Perhaps more than anyone, he has helped us to see how an institution so inhuman, so unjust, and so violent could endure for thousands of years. And he has helped us see how the worst of humanity can ultimately be overcome by the best. He is revered by generations of scholars who have learned from his mentorship, his methods, and his moral compass. One colleague has said he is the living exponent of the essence of a Harvard education: shy and sharp, vast and humble, open and reflective, with a deep understanding of the ambiguities that define the human condition. Winner of the Pulitzer Prize and the National Humanities Medal, past president of the Organization of American Historians, he published the third volume of his magisterial trilogy on slavery just 2 years ago as he neared his 87th birthday. He has risen to the apex of his field despite the handicap of having labored for decades on the faculty of a humble school in South Central Connecticut, perhaps best known as the birthplace of the Frisbee. We welcome to Harvard the Sterling Professor of American History Emeritus at Yale, David Bryan Davis.
Confronting the unconscionable negation of freedom, discerning our demons and our better angels, a sterling chronicler of inhuman bondage, who shows that the past not was, but is. David Bryan Davis, Doctor of Laws.
with no slight intended to anyone else seated to my right. It is our next honored guest whose life's work has advanced our insatiable curiosity to understand the extraterrestrial. He is one of the world's foremost cosmologists and astrophysicists, as well as one of Britain's leading champions of science. Astronomer Royal, past president of the Royal Society, past president of the Royal Astronomical Society, former Royal Society research professor at Cambridge. He is a duly knighted member of cosmology's royal family. His research has illuminated the formation of black holes, the phenomenon of gamma ray bursts, and the nature of gravitational waves. He has elucidated the early generation of stars and galaxies at the end of the cosmic dark ages, shortly after the Big Bang, when the universe was still lacking in sources of light. He has not only been at the forefront of astrophysics, he has been an eloquent exponent of scientific discovery, writing and speaking about science for general audiences, and advocating for the importance of scientific research and education. He likes to remind us that in the grand sweep of time and space, all of us are stardust. And recently, he has taken to warning us that if we do not face up to the perils posed by advances in modern science and technology, to dust we may return. We welcome the Emeritus Professor of Cosmology and Astrophysics at the University of Cambridge, elevated to the House of Lords as Baron Rees of Ludlow, the Right Honorable Lord Martin Rees.
Luminous star in the firmament of astrophysics, royal citizen of science, and namesake of an asteroid. He has shone fresh light on the cosmic dark ages and the genesis of galaxies far, far away. Martin Rees, Doctor of Science.
Our next guest is one of Africa's most admired and imaginative artists. His strikingly original works transform ordinary found objects into sublime works of art. Born in Ghana, the son of a weaver of kente cloth, he is best known for works that fasten together hundreds of discarded metal tops from liquor bottles into intricate, shimmering sheets of color. His favored material has been described as a porous, voluminous, reflective, infinitely malleable quicksilver cloth. From this metallic medium, he creates visual marvels that draw on both African and European traditions, that evoke both colonialism and consumerism, and that feature a fluidity and vibrancy that critics describe as undulant and opulent, sumptuous and refined. Transcending the usual genres, his works combine elements of sculpture, tapestry, and mosaic, creating what some have called a new form of art. And unlike sculpture, they take on a different shape each time they are installed in a different place. His signature materials, the thrown-away tops from liquor bottles, are consciously chosen to recall the history of the transatlantic slave trade, in which the transport and sale of alcohol played a prominent part. Woven together by a consummate craftsman with a deep sense of history, They epitomize the capacity to forge something exalted from something humble, to create beauty and meaning from the detritus of life. We honor El Anatsui.
Fusing ordinary articles of refuse into extraordinary artworks that refuse categorization. He weaves strands of diverse cultures and genres into splendorous cascades of gravity and grace. El Anatsui, Doctor of Arts.
At the University of Illinois, decades ago, she was one of only 3 women among some 200 chemistry majors. If I do well, she remembers thinking, they'll believe I must have cheated. But if I do better than anyone else, that will be a different story. Fascinated by science, undeterred by a sometimes unwelcoming culture, she emerged as a world-renowned cell biologist and an eminent expert on the body's largest organ, the skin. Her work has transformed our understanding of skin cells and of the genes and proteins that guide their development. She has been a trailblazer in reverse genetics, a method that relies on creating mutations to discover the origins of cancers and other diseases and disorders. She has been a leader in the science of stem cells, investigating how such cells can replenish themselves and how they can create tissues remarkably different from one another. At every stage, she has gone beyond the tried and true to embrace the unconventional, relishing the opportunity, as she puts it, to seek fresh scientific insights by making oneself comfortable with the uncomfortable. Winner of the National Medal of Science, past president of both the American Society of Cell Biology and the International Society for Stem Cell Research, she long served at the University of Chicago and is now the Rebecca C. Lansfield Professor of Mammalian Cell Biology and Development at the Rockefeller University. We honor Elaine Fuchs.
Stem cell eminence and doyen of the epidermis, whose innovative investigations of genes and proteins have pluripotent power to get under our skin. Elaine Fuchs, Doctor of Science.
W.E.B. Du Bois, the great scholar, activist, and co-founder of the NAACP. Langston Hughes, the esteemed poet of the Black experience in America. Arthur Ashe, the only African-American man to win both the US Open and Wimbledon tennis championships. Jackie Robinson, the legendary baseball star who broke the sport's color barrier. Ralph Ellison, the acclaimed author of The Invisible Man. 5 extraordinary Americans who helped shape the cultural history of the 20th century. All 5 of them, the subjects of extraordinary biographies by our next honored guest. Born in Trinidad, he launched his career while a doctoral student here in Cambridge, with a brilliant dissertation on Du Bois, himself the first African American to receive a PhD from Harvard. He was drawn to biography, he has said, because he saw the African American personality as a neglected field, despite the prominence of race in discussions of America. He set out to show African American character in all its complexity and sophistication, to assure, in his words, that it not remain a denied category in the representation of American social reality. He has devoted his distinguished career to expounding that complexity and sophistication with equal parts vividness and depth, elegance and erudition. A major figure in the rise of African American studies, whose honors include a MacArthur Fellowship and the National Humanities Medal. He is the Sarah Hart Kimball Professor Emeritus in the Humanities at Stanford. Nearly half a century since he arrived here at Harvard as a graduate student, we are pleased to welcome back Arnold Rampersad.
Lifelong student of the human spirit, literary biographer extraordinaire, an erudite expositor of the American experience who lucidly illuminates the matter of Black lives. Arnold Rampersad, Doctor of Laws.
Our next guest is the rare individual who rose to the top of his academic field and then to his nation's highest office. The tale of his two careers traces back to his childhood days in Rio de Janeiro, then Brazil's capital. Politics, he recalls, was the family business. Nevertheless, growing up, he remained more interested in reading books than in someday entering the political fray. He took his PhD in sociology and in time became a professor at the University of Sao Paulo. Over the years, both in Brazil and in exile, he rose to prominence as an internationally recognized scholar and as president of the International Sociological Association. His work took on difficult issues of race relations in Brazil and later focused on dependency and economic development in Latin America more broadly, blending insights from sociology, political science, and economics. His scholarship, one colleague wrote, consistently reflects an overarching goal: to understand the course of history and to do what he can to steer it in a positive direction. By the 1980s, he chose to pursue that goal in a more direct way, as a senator, as his nation's Minister of External Relations and then of Finance, and finally, as the President of Brazil. As the first Brazilian president elected to 2 consecutive terms in office, he is known for his efforts to nurture democracy not long after an era of authoritarian rule, to forge a modern economy, to face up to issues of race and inequality, to invest in education and health, and to spur his country's engagement with the wider world. We recognize an uncommon scholar-statesman and a pivotal figure in Brazil's emergence on the world stage, His Excellency Fernando Enrique Cardozo.
Expert on dependency and development, exponent of democracy and engagement. He has ascended the echelons of both academe and government to guide his nation through challenge and change. Fernando Enrique Cardozo, Doctor of Laws.
Humble, tenacious, patient, passionate, inspirational, indefatigable, brilliant. Her colleagues and clients know her as all these things. They see in her the embodiment of the Frederick Douglass maxim that she herself often quotes: "If there is no struggle, there is no progress." They see in her face, they see in her a fierce commitment to the proposition affirmed by Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that the story of our Constitution is the story of extending rights and protections to people once ignored or excluded. Since her earliest days as a lawyer, she has dedicated herself to a paramount goal: to build public understanding and legal precedents of respect for LGBT people and families in all aspects of life. Step by step, case by case, careful not to move too fast, yet bold in the face of opportunity. She has championed the rights of people to enjoy equal treatment under the law, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. Most notably, through landmark cases in Vermont, Massachusetts, and Connecticut, and finally, in the Supreme Court of the United States, she has led the fight to secure the freedom of same-sex couples to marry. "25 years ago, when she launched her career as the Civil Rights Director of the organization commonly known as GLAAD, that goal seemed to her to be a nearly impossible dream. As she has said, it was as if a man was asking for the right to get pregnant. But she patiently fashioned a legal strategy focused on vividly telling the stories of people denied the right to marry because of their sexual orientation, and on vindicating the simple proposition that all of us share a common humanity. 11 months ago, the Supreme Court embraced the compelling argument she made on behalf of her clients, granting them what the court called equal dignity in the eyes of the law. We honor a pioneering advocate for liberty and equality, Mary Bonato.
Savvy strategist in the quest for equality, supremely deft advocate for the dignity of all. She has brought to life stories both of love and of loss, and now, thanks to her, countless hearts may be glad. Mary Bonato, Doctor of Laws.
He has scared us out of our wits and out of the water. He has thrilled us with intrepid escapades in archaeology, feeding our Jones for adventure. He has conjured up the wonders of the otherworldly. He has captivated us with the charms of a diminutive and gentle alien. He has terrified us with tales of giant and decidedly ungentle velociraptors. He has probed the realms of artificial intelligence and counterintelligence. He has shown light on the horrors of the Holocaust and the brutality of war. He has transported us to the segregated South and to the empire of the sun. He has shown us unspeakable acts of terrorism and uncommon acts of heroism. He has inspired us with portrayals of courageous slaves striving for freedom and of a president striving to save the last best hope of Earth. He has made us laugh and cry, shudder with dread and shiver with excitement, bear witness to devastating cruelty and experience transcendent joy, see our world through different eyes and marvel at the mysteries of the universe. Along the way, he has amassed Oscars and honors aplenty, including Lifetime Achievement Awards from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, the Directors Guild of America and the Producers Guild of America, and our nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. My problem, he once said, is that my imagination won't turn off. We join admirers worldwide in hoping he will never find a cure. We proudly honor a cinematic man of letters, E.T., AI, and BFG, to name just a few, the singular Steven Spielberg.
Sovereign of celluloid storytelling, who draws us into the dark, then directs us towards the light. His movies move us in magical ways as we closely encounter the terrors and wonders of life. Steven Spielberg, Doctor of Arts. By virtue of the authority delegated to me, I now award these several honorary degrees and declare that in the name of this Society of Scholars, these persons are entitled to the rights and privileges pertaining to their degrees, and that their names are to be forever borne on its roll of honorary members. Finally, let me take just a moment to salute the person who will retire this summer after 24 years of directing our commencement offices and organizing these festival rites. As the grand impresaria of commencement, please join me in thanking Grace Scheibner.
Degree candidates and their guests and all alumni are warmly invited to attend the afternoon session of the Commencement Day exercises under the direction of the Harvard Alumni Association. The Alumni Parade will begin at 1:45 p.m. and the exercises will begin at 2:30 p.m. The commencement speakers will be Mr. Steven Spielberg and the president of Harvard University. Now, the commencement choir director will lead us in the singing of the commencement hymn. Following the hymn, the Pusey minister will pronounce the benediction. The commencement exercises then being ended, the sheriff of Middlesex County will declare the meeting adjourned. The audience is requested to remain seated until the president and fellows and their guests have withdrawn from the platform.
Harvard graduates, time is fleeting and is filled with swift transition. So thus, I would like to leave you with this blessing and this admonition. We have only just a minute. There's but 60 seconds in it. Forced upon us, we can't refuse it. We didn't seek it, we didn't choose it. But it's up to us to use it. We will suffer if we lose it. Must give an account if we abuse it. Because it's only just a minute. But there is an eternity within it. It is God's minute. Go in peace.
As the High Sheriff of Middlesex County, I declare that the meeting will be adjourned.
the end, and now the bells sound.
It is an amazing thing. Not only do we have a Latin oration, but a Latin hymn that is sung at commencement and at other occasions, invoking the eruditi professores, and I think this year especially the largeantur donatores, the generous givers, the generous donors. Harvard is in the middle of a great campaign and is still about the business of renovating the great old Georgian houses, of which Lowell House is certainly one.
There we see all of the faculty leaving, and then we're seeing the students about to process out, the members of the corporation and the overseers filing off the stage. Everybody will have lunch, and it's actually a wonderful tradition. The individual students will go back to a ceremony in their colleges to get their degrees conferred in their houses and then in the various schools, and then they will come back for the afternoon exercises. Here we see members of the corporation and the overseers in their elegant hats.
And the afternoon exercises are important not only for the opportunity to hear the speaker, in this case Steven Spielberg, but also the president often delivers an important message in each of the years, sort of summing up and looking ahead.
All of the enthusiasm out there. It's a wonderful day. And these students are all going to go off, and it's really just breathtaking to think of what these students will accomplish over the course of their careers, and how it's humbling to think how we can help launch all of these different extraordinary people.
There is also a very strong sense that on this day in particular, we see something of what Harvard University is. Harvard University is not simply 12 individual schools, but does come together. And as President Faust is often said to say, one Harvard.
That's
and here,
exactly
this
right.
is the one day you see one Harvard.
Well, Diana, once again, it's been a real pleasure working with you on this broadcast. It's just lovely to celebrate this with you. It's become a little bit of a tradition.
It's become a bit of a tradition. We have our own perspectives on what's happening here today. We know whole groups of students and professors, and it is, I think, an equal joy for us to be able to sit here and talk about these festival rites in the company of one another. Thank you, Dan. Thanks to all of you, and come back this afternoon.